Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Bei Bei spoke in a very deep yet powerful voice. His gaze fell on his close brother, Shu Sanxia first. Sanxia, you're up first. Shu Sanxia nodded. At this moment, he awakened the domineering attitude he normally kept hidden, setting it ablaze as his will to fight. He squinted his eyes slightly, a cold glint shining in them. I will definitely win the first match. Either they'll beat me till I can't get up anymore, or I'll emerge victorious. Who's partnering up with me? You? Bei Bei shook his head and said, no. If we both appear in the first round, the following matches will be very difficult for the team even if we win. I need to stay behind and oversee the team. His gaze shifted to Jiang Nan Nan standing beside him. There was a deep and sincere look in his eyes as he said, Nan Nan, I don't know what happened between you and Sanxia in the past for you to look down on him so. None of that is important to our present formation. I hope you can put down all personal grudges for the moment. You must fight with him. The best outcome will only occur when you both work together. After this match ends, I'll beat him up for you if you want. But now, I'm asking and ordering you as your captain to fight the first match with Sanxia. Will you do it or not? Jian Nan Nan was stunned. She had really never expected Bei Bei to pair her with Shu Sanxia. From her point of view, Hu Yu Hao should be the one fighting with Shu Sanxia, not her. But once her eyes met Bei Bei's honest gaze, and feeling her comrades' gazes on her, Jiang Nan Nan only gritted her teeth and said, fine, I'll go. Bei Bei nodded forcefully at her. Thank you. Now go. Let them see the power of Shrek's 7 monsters. Yes. Jiang Nan Nan nodded lightly. Without even glancing in Shu Sanxi's general direction, she walked out of the waiting area in a flash and headed up to the stage first. Shu Sanxia quickly chased after her. When he walked past Bei Bei, he stuck his thumb up. Bei Bei, I love you. Scram. Bei Bei huffed unhappily. If you can't win even like this, don't come back. I'll castrate myself if I don't win. Shu Sanxia strode up on stage after he threw those words out. The 5 other members of Shrek's 7 monsters realized that after he said that, his whole demeanor suddenly underwent an earth-shattering change. Wang Yang's mood recovered a little at this moment under the influence of the intense will to fight coming from Shrek's 7 monsters. He temporarily let go of his worries and spoke to Bei Bei in a low voice. Bei Bei, why did you pair Jiang Nan Nan and Shu Sanxia together? With Shu Sanxi's defensive abilities, wouldn't it be better to pair him with Ye Kai-Tu's explosive firepower? Bei Bei shook his head and said, Teacher Wang, you don't understand Sanxia. What he needs isn't firepower, but rather something to arouse all of his power. There's no one more suited for this than Jiang Nan Nan. Jiang Nan Nan will be the detonator to set him on fire. Just wait and see. Sanxi's strength is nothing compared to what it was before. He will reveal his true cultivation to us. I believe he can win this match. Wang Yang nodded lightly. Since he'd handed over the right to command the team to Bei Bei, he could now only give him his unconditional trust. Moreover, they were in a desperate situation where anything goes, after all. There was one point Bei Bei made that he highly approved of. They were 2 remarkable people living in the same period. Did they lack students with 4 soul rings in the outer courtyard? No. Why were they blossoming with the most resplendent light? There must definitely be a reason behind that. For the first time, Wang Yang felt as though he had a little confidence in the team again. After Jiang Nan Nan went on stage, she stood to the side without consulting anyone. After Shu Sanxia followed her up on stage, he did something out of Jiang Nan Nan's expectations. He didn't greet her, nor did he say anything. He only stood in front of her in a very natural manner. Jiang Nan Nan looked at Shu Sanxi's broad shoulders, and a dull look suddenly appeared in her eyes. In this moment, he seemed to have changed into a person filled with masculinity. There was an intense confidence oozing out of him that she couldn't make sense of. Without releasing the slightest bit of his soul power, Shu Sanxia made one feel as though he was a massive shining entity. He looked like a volcano that could erupt at any time. What's wrong with him? Is it because of me? To Jiang Nanan's surprise, such a thought actually formed in her mind. She quickly shook her head forcefully to expel such distracting thoughts from her mind. She looked at Shu Sanxia standing in front of her again, and felt that he wasn't as hateful as he usually was in this kind of situation, to say the least. If it wasn't because of that time, maybe she would really be attracted to him. Just as Jiang Nan Nan let her imagination run wild, Just Sky Academy's first 2v2 team took the field. Their pair was also comprised of a boy and a girl, with figures that were even a little similar to Shusansha and Jiang Nan Nan. The girl was very beautiful. Unfortunately, luck was not on her side in this round, as she had encountered the one known as the #1 beauty in the outer courtyard of Shrek Academy, Jiang Nan Nan. Under Jiang Nanan's shining beauty, she seemed to be a little drab and dull. Even the boy standing next to her couldn't control his gaze as it fell on Jiang Nan Nan first, Shusansha. "She's Jiang Nan Nan," Shusansha said in a low voice. A 2v2 battle couldn't compare to a team battle. Teamwork was most important in team battles, and there wasn't a chance to distinguish the members apart from one another. Wang Yang had given them a rundown on every one of their opponents, but they'd never seen their opponents before, nor had they paid attention to them, so it wasn't easy to tell who was who. Thus, they introduced themselves first so that they could see who their opponents were, as thus be able to act on Wang Yang's information. "I'm Yang Yifan," said the youth from Just Sky Academy. The girl glanced at Jiang Nan Nan with a slightly envious look in her eyes that was directed at the other parties for looking immature, yet being remarkably beautiful. "You Mingdi. It's these two." Shusansha suddenly knew what was going on. Sure enough, one of them was a Soul King. It seemed like their opponents also didn't plan on staking all their strength on one throw. Seeing as both parties had introduced themselves, the referee called out in a low voice, "Both parties fall back and get ready." Both parties simultaneously backed away from one another. It was a must to create distance between both parties regardless of whether it was a team battle, singles or doubles. This was so that all types of Soul Masters could freely display their abilities. Shusansha spoke to Jiang Nan Nan in a low voice as he backed away. "Nan Nan, I'll create an opening for you. We'll win as long as we get rid of Yumingdi. You don't need to bother with the other one. I won't give him a chance to attack you. You'll have to wait, then go all out in your attack when I tell you to. Before that, just focus on what I'm doing." "Okay," Jiang Nan Nan muttered in agreement. Since she had to cooperate with him in this match, she couldn't flare up at this time regardless of how much she hated Shusansha. Shusansha was ecstatic. He suddenly felt his heart being tickled when Jiang Nan Nan said this. It was rare for her to be so gentle and agreeable, so maybe he felt that way because she'd scolded him too much on a daily basis. When both parties reached the edge of the tournament stage, the referee shouted out, "Start." Without a doubt, releasing martial souls was key in a fight. Both parties finished this process in the blink of an eye. Shusansha didn't appear to be lazy this time around. He held the shield of the Xuanwu turtle in his hands as he charged up in big strides. Jiang Nan Nan flashed and bounced lightly behind him. Since Shusansha was relatively robust compared to those in his age group, Jiang Nan Nan was practically invisible from the front as she hid behind him. On the other end, Yang Yifan and Yumingdi released their martial souls too. Yang Yifan's martial soul was a long dagger. In reality, he was an agility type soul master despite his tall physique. His body flashed as he moved around and over to the other side. Yumingdi's martial soul wasn't that simple. Once she released her martial soul, much of the feeling of being stunned was somewhat similar to when Wang Dong released his radiant butterfly goddess for the first time. A pair of spotlessly white wings, shining with strong golden rays of light, unfurled from her back. Yumingdi was suddenly covered in a soft layer of gold. The saintly aura she emitted made one feel as though they wanted to worship her. Her hand flashed with golden light, and a long golden sword appeared within it. This wasn't a soul tool, but rather a weapon condensed completely out of soul power. 5 soul rings formed of the best proportions, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black, simultaneously appeared on her. A black soul ring meant that a 10,000-year soul ring had appeared. This was the first time Shrek Academy had encountered an opponent who had a 10,000-year soul ring in this tournament. Just Sky Academy valued this first match a lot. Among the 3 Soul Kings, Yumingdi's cultivation was ranked second, and she was only second to Yi Wuqing. Her martial soul was the angel. Even if it was only a 2-winged angel now, it was already a considerably powerful martial soul. If her cultivation could reach the rank of a soul master with 7 soul rings, then she would have 4 wings. If she was able to become a titled Doluor with 9 soul rings, she would have 6 wings. Every additional pair of wings was equivalent to an evolution of her martial soul. This was closest to the strongest body soul in existence. As a result of that, Yumingdi wasn't weaker than Yu Wuqing in the slightest in terms of her potential to grow. They were both determined to win this match. The audience couldn't see the problem Shrek Academy had. However, a few individuals from other academies, who had discerning eyes, could see many problems with Shrek Academy's performance from their previous matches. Just Sky Academy was among those who had seen through them. As a result of that, he was filled with excitement rather than fear as he faced Shrek Academy today. Just Sky Academy realized that this wasn't Shrek Academy's strongest pair. Even so, they still represented Shrek Academy. As long as they could defeat them, that would make them the first team to defeat Shrek Academy in the last few thousand years. Such a victory and its glory would be invaluable to Just Sky Academies. This was why Just Sky Academy had worked hard to prepare for this match. The circumstances motivating them and making them determined to win this match. When Yumingdi saw that Shrek had only deployed 2 soul ancestors with 4 soul rings, she calmed down. From her point of view, they already had this match in the bag. It was a match with soul kings against soul ancestors. Additionally, she had her powerful angel soul. She had absolute confidence in her abilities. Yumingdi flapped her wings, suddenly increasing her speed. Her movement reminiscent of a golden meteor, as she shot straight at Shusansha. Simultaneously, Yang Yifan, who clearly seemed to be well coordinated with her, also moved. His body flashed as he pounced towards Shusansha from another direction. They acted as though they didn't see Jiang Nannan at all, making it clear that their target was Shusansha. From the looks of it, they wanted to end this match with just one attack. Shusansha didn't panic even as the 2 powerhouses simultaneously attacked him. He slowed down and lowered his voice. Nan, you don't have to interfere. Just wait for my signal. The shield of the Xuanwu turtle in his hands as he spoke. Yumingdi and Yang Yifan were extremely well coordinated with each other. Yang Yifan's dagger seemed to approach Shusansha from the side at nearly the same time that Yumingdi landed right in front of him. The 2 of them instantly and simultaneously released their soul skills. Yumingdi's first soul ring was already glowing as she released her golden swords. Her second soul ring subsequently lit up as well, and her pair of golden swords immediately formed a perfect cross in the sky. She spread her wings out, releasing golden rays of light into the cross. A beautiful and melodious singing voice rang out from the cross. Bright rays of golden light accompanied by a holy aura pressed in Shusanshi's direction. Yumingdi revealed how superior her angel was with just this attack. Her first soul skill was a peculiar weapon-type skill called Divine Dual Sword. After equipping this soul skill, any other soul skill she used would be released through her first soul skill. Ordinary soul masters had to be very skilled in order to release stacked soul skills. The more soul skills that were stacked atop one another, the more difficult it was. Not only did the user have to skillfully control the soul skills, but the soul skills themselves also needed to coordinate with each other. This was a high-end technique even for Shrek's inner courtyard disciples. Yumingdi's martial soul had the advantage of naturally being able to release at least one more soul skill along with her first soul skill. Sacred Glory Crucifix. That was the attack she was using now. It was an attack that possessed all the effects of a holy attack. It was not only a powerful attack, but was also one that burned with a persistent holy flame. Her angel really was the best martial soul to restrain evil soul masters. Yang Yifan's attack wasn't weak either. As an agility-type soul master, his strength shone through in his powerful attacks. His second soul ring lit up as a 2-meter-long sword-shaped glow extended out from his dagger, piercing toward Shusanshi's ribs like lightning. Everyone had always paid attention to Shrek Academy during the tournament. They'd all watched Shusanshi's previous matches, and his strong defensive abilities paired with his shield of the Xuanwu turtle had left a lasting impression on every single one of them. This was why the pair had commenced their attack on a strong note in an attempt to destroy Shusanshi's defense in the shortest time possible. Naturally, Jiang Nannan was of little importance to them, as she'd shown herself to be a mediocre contestant throughout the tournament. Shusansha didn't seem to be panicking at all when faced with their attacks. Instead, he abruptly stopped in his tracks, quickly dispelling their attacks with a very simple move. His fourth soul ring glowed, signaling that he had activated his mysterious underworld displacement. In the blink of an eye, Shusansha switched positions with Yang Yifan. Yang Yifan was originally stabbing his dagger at Shusansha, but was now stabbing Yumingdi. On the other hand, Yumingdi's sacred glory crucifix was falling straight on Yang Yifan. It was in situations like this that the mysterious underworld displacement could showcase its true power. The ability to change the course of any battle at the most crucial moment. However, this wasn't the first time Shusansha had used this move in this tournament. How could his opponents not prepare for it when he had used this powerful soul skill numerous times? Yumingdi had a disdainful look on her face when Shusansha used the mysterious underworld displacement. She raised the holy sword in her hands and the sacred glory crucifix flew past Yang Yifan's head, heading straight for Jiang Nan, who was now exposed after Shusanshi's dodge. Yang Yifan didn't withdraw his dagger either, but rather seized the opportunity to flop on his back to avoid Yumingdi's attack. The reflection from the dagger carved a crescent moon across the sky as he slashed towards Jiang Nan, who was now behind him. The teamwork between them both could be said to be impeccable in every aspect, whether it was adapting to changes or their control over their techniques. The joint attacks initially directed at Shusansha were redirected to Jiang Nan. The only thing they found a little strange was that Jiang Nan didn't move an inch from where she was standing when faced with their joint attack. But it definitely wasn't because she was shocked to the bone. Her gaze fell on Shusansha at this moment, a mocking expression on her exquisitely stunning face. She seemed to be asking Shusansha whether this was his way of protecting her. Shusansha had never expected their opponents to be so perfectly in sync with one another. Even though he had guessed that they would take countermeasures against the mysterious underworld displacement, he assumed that they would at least be flustered since they were already attacking him. However, he'd had the tables turned on him as the pair managed to beat him at his own game. The mockery in Jiang Nan's eyes seemed to light a fire within Shusansha, and his eyes immediately reddened. Scram. A crazy roar burst forth from Shusansha as he smashed the shield of the Xuanwu turtle into the ground. A powerful black halo instantly extended from the shield, forming a dome that enveloped spanning more than 10 square meters. As this occurred, a rumbling sound could be heard. A powerful tremor sent Jiang Nan's body flying out of the dome, and at the same time enveloped her opponents within the dome. Yang Yifan's dagger failed to strike its target, but Yumingdi's sacred glory crucifix was still emitting an intense golden light. It seemed as though it was about to break through the enclosure. But it was also at this very moment that the shield of the Xuanwu turtle in Shusanshi's hands lit up the whole stage. A strange light started warping the surface of the shield. The feeling it exuded was one that resembled the movement of a human's muscles. After that, the whole surface of the shield changed. A dark green snake with red eyes appeared on the thick, intricately designed shield. Following its appearance, the mysterious underworld quake that was originally black suddenly turned dark green. An intense blast that sounded just like a huge explosion rang out in the enclosed area. The sacred glory crucifix that was originally going to break through the enclosure was swallowed up in the blink of an eye. And that wasn't the end. Yang Yifan bore the brunt of the attack. His whole body shook violently till he fell on the ground. Yumingdi was a Soul King and was much stronger than Yang Yifan. Even so, she lost her balance and fell from the sky. She crossed the divine dual swords in front of her chest and released her third soul skill. The angel wings on her back curled around her body protectively, turning into an oval light cocoon. Only then was she able to block that dark green light. Offstage, Wang Yang's mouth dropped open as he watched this scene. This is, he squeaked out. Bei Bei smiled and said, although he doesn't have an ultimate martial soul, his martial soul far transcends regular martial souls. If there is one person amongst the 7 of us who can compare to Junior Brother's ultimate martial soul, it'd be Sansha. However, his martial soul is sealed and he can't break the seal on his own without a strong stimulus. Luckily, he seems to have succeeded this time. But this means that definitely can't participate in the next match. After all, he won't be able to understand the true meaning of his martial soul before he gains 7 soul rings. Surprised, Hu Yuhao asked, Senior Brother, just what is Big Brother Shu's martial soul? Bei Bei's eyes shone as he said, the bloodline of a god beast, Xuanwu. His god beast bloodline is even purer than senior sister Xiaotao's evil phoenix. Normally his martial soul is sealed and only ever bursts out when he's in an extremely dangerous situation. This is when he is at his strongest and all of his soul skills will bear the god beast stigma. As opposed to the joy on the Shrek Academy's end, the students from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy were staring blankly at the stage. Xiao Hongchen, who had been arrogant up till this point, also widened his eyes in shock. No, this is impossible. How can he possibly have a god-beast bloodline that's comparable to mine? Aren't god-beast bloodlines supposed to be so diluted and rare that they're about to disappear? Even in my case, it'd be impossible for me to have the aura of a god-beast if not for my martial soul mutation. And this bloodline, is this Xuanwu? Having broken through the seal on his martial soul, Shusansha flew across the stage and stood in front on Jiang Nan again, as he released his Xuanwu in front of him. After breaking the seal on his martial soul, Shusanshi's body had gone through some slight changes. He was taller and bigger than before, his physique similar to that of an adult's. On top of that, there seemed to be a faint jade light coming from his short hair. His muscles had swelled up, giving him the aura of an immovable mountain as he stood there. I told you I'd protect you. Shusanshi's deep voice had dropped a few octaves, and the somewhat frivolous feeling his voice used to have was now replaced with a magnetic charm. Expecting to have to defend herself, Jiang Nanan's third soul ring was originally shining, but even she was shocked by such a sudden change. She never knew this shameless scoundrel was actually hiding such strength in him. Even though he was still a soul ancestor, the aura surrounding the present Shusansha was far beyond his rank. The effect of the mysterious underworld quake had just completely disappeared. Yang Yifan, who had actually collapsed to the ground, was completely dazed. At this moment, he couldn't crawl up no matter how hard he tried. His third soul skill, Mysterious Underworld Force, caused the strength of his body to instantly double after being amplified by his Xuanwu bloodline. Furthermore, the mysterious underworld force he activated within his current state didn't just strengthen his own body, it even affected a very large area around him. The wave-like viscosity that made it seem as though one was trapped within a wave was precisely because his mysterious underworld force had instantly gathered a large amount of the water elements around him. Yang Yifan momentarily lost all of his combat strength, but Yumingdi didn't. She immediately felt that something was wrong after the effects of the mysterious underworld quake dissipated. This wasn't the strength that a four-ringed soul ancestor should possess, and this was especially evident after she witnessed the enormous changes that had occurred to Shusanshi's body. Although she didn't fully understand what was going on, she made a prompt decision and immediately chose the correct answer to the situation, and that was to attack. She needed to give Yang Yifan a moment to recover. The original self-confidence she possessed had already been greatly reduced, and she couldn't guarantee the outcome of this battle if her opponents were working together. With her divine dual swords held above her head, her third soul ring lit up. A golden flare of light quickly rose above her body, and the image of a six-winged angel faintly appeared behind her. Her body was instantly dyed gold following the appearance of this angel. This was her third soul skill, Angelic Protection. This would double the attack power of her next attack. Right after that, her fifth soul ring lit up. The black soul ring that represented the strength of 10,000 years instantly lit up, causing the distant audience to involuntarily hold in their breaths and widen their eyes. This was the first appearance of a 10,000-year soul skill during this tournament, and everybody wanted to see just how strong it would be. Angelic God Sealing Slash. A charming voice rang out from Yumingdi's voice. This wasn't just a simple calling out of one's own skill. Every single one of the words she called out contained different musical notes, and her divine dual swords emitted a clear buzzing with each note. When she yelled out the word slash, the divine dual swords merged into one and formed a sharp sword light 10 meters long and 3 meters wide that slashed towards Shusansha. The referee on the stage immediately charged over quickly the moment he saw this attack. He absolutely did not think that Shusansha would be able to take this blow. Yumingdi's attack could be said to be a fusion of her first, third, and fifth soul skills. Combined with the strength of her angel soul, the might of this attack of hers was comparable to that of a soul emperor's. An attack like this could only be released by the very strongest of soul kings, even in an academy like Shrek Academy. The pressure caused by Shusanshi's awakened Xuanwu made Yumingdi unhesitantly use her full power. No matter what, Just Sky Academy wouldn't just give up this extremely rare chance to beat Shrek Academy. Nan, I'll give you 3 seconds. Is that enough? Wielding the mysterious underworld shield that had already evolved into the Xuanwu shield, Shusansha revealed no fear at all as he faced the enormous pressure in front of him. That's enough. Jiang Nan said in a low voice. At this moment, his 3 soul skills fused into one, releasing the awesome might of a 10,000-year soul skill. However, if one were close enough to see Shusansha, who was currently surrounded by jade-green light, they would discover that his face had turned incomparably white the instant his 3 soul skills had fused together. The black light wreathing the Xuanwu shield instantly enlarged to the point where it had a diameter of 3 meters. The enormous shield slanted forwards, blocking the might of the angelic god-sealing slash. The instant the two 10,000-year soul skills collided, an ear-piercing groan spread throughout the entire tournament stage. The outer protective barrier emitted a piercing bright light, causing the distant spectators to be momentarily unable to see what was going on the stage. Yumingdi would never have thought that she would encounter a situation like this. The instant her angelic god-sealing slash landed on the Xuanwu shield, she felt as if her attack had been swallowed by a vast sea. After that, a violent boom rang out. Furthermore, her soul power had been greatly weakened, while her third soul skill instantly vanished. A low roar suddenly spread throughout the entire arena at this moment. This roar that resembled the awakening of a god-beast covered an entire half of the tournament stage, and everyone, including the referee, who was a seven-ringed soul sage, felt their minds go blank from that terrifying roar. Their bodies seemed to have been swallowed by the most viscous swamp, rendering them unable to move. Nan Nan, now. Shu Sanxi's somewhat hoarse voice rang out by Jiang Nanan's ear. At this moment, Jiang Nanan's body vanished. Covered by the intense light generated by the collision between the Xuanwu shield and the angelic god-sealing slash, nobody was able to see how she vanished, nor how she appeared behind Yumingdi. Jiang Nan had appeared right behind Yumingdi. She gently leapt up, then landed a kick on Yumingdi's lower back. In reality, even if Shusansha were able to unseal the strength of the Xuanwu, he wouldn't be a match for Yumingdi in a one-on-one fight. After all, he lacked means of attacking. Furthermore, his soul power and potential would be drained at an astonishing rate after releasing the strength of the Xuanwu. As an agility-type soul master, however, Jiang Nan was able to coordinate perfectly with him. Shu Sanxi's incomparably powerful defensive abilities perfectly complemented her speed and close combat abilities. In a situation where anyone with a discerning eye was able to tell that they weren't in a favorable position, they were actually able to pull off an unexpected first victory for Shrek Academy. We've won. Shu Sanxi's body trembled slightly, and the dark green light on his body faded away. At this moment, Jiang Nan finally discovered that his face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and his body was tottering. Blood was even seeping from his mouth and nose. Although he had released the strength of the Xuanwu, how could Yumingdi's angelic god-sealing slash, that was comparable to an attack released by a soul emperor, be so easily blocked? After forcefully blocking that attack, Shusansha had suffered heavy injuries. His body was swaying from side to side, and he was about to collapse on the ground. Jiang Nan subconsciously took a few steps forward and supported him by the arm. "You, how are you?" Jiang Nan whispered. Shusansha looked her in the face. Although he had an ugly expression on his face, his eyes were still filled with happiness. "I'm feeling very good. I'll always be happy fighting with you. If anyone wants to hurt you, they'll have to step over my dead body. Nan, do you know? If it weren't for you, I would never have been able to break through the seal on my martial soul and release its true power." At this point, his chest started to undulate violently. After letting out another muffled groan and spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood, his body fell straight towards Jiang Nan. Startled, Jiang Nan hurriedly helped him up. Shusansha wasn't much taller than her, and so she could only put his arm over her shoulder and walk back to the waiting area. Below the stage, Shrek Academy was already in great jubilation. They had won their first match. This meant that they had taken a sturdy step forward through an impossible pass. Only Bei's mouth twitched for a moment as he whispered, "This cheap person really won't give up on a single chance." A certain someone who was placing his entire weight on a soft and fragrant-smelling person felt his nose itch. He felt his eyebrows move slightly, and he resisted a sneeze. The first round of the 2-2-3 match goes to Shrek Academy. When the referee announced the results of the competition, his voice contained a few traces of astonishment. Everyone at Just Sky Academy, from Yu Wuqing to the ordinary students, had gloomy expressions. They'd originally been filled with hope that they'd be able to beat Shrek Academy, but this loss had been akin to a bucket of ice water. Within Shrek Academy's waiting area, good. Now then, don't get too excited everyone. We've still got more predicaments to overcome. Bei clapped, drawing everyone's attention to him. "Even though we've won the first match, Sancha definitely won't be able to make it to our next match. As he's injured his vitality, I'm not sure how long he'll take to recover." Previously, he told that if anything caused him to forcefully break his seal, he'd temporarily become stronger, but that he'd heavily injure his body and drain his potential in doing so. Nan, is it possible for you to take him back to recover? This place isn't suitable. If this was any other time, Jiang Nan Nan definitely would have outright rejected Bei Bei without hesitation. However, when she thought of the last few words Shu Sanxia had uttered to her, she unexpectedly nodded, put his arm over her shoulder and left. What she didn't see, however, was that unconscious Shu Sanxia give Bei Bei a slight thumbs up that only he was able to notice. The corner of Bei Bei's mouth rose slightly, and he laughed while inwardly thinking, "You've earned this with your own hard work." "All the participants of the second round please take the stage." The referee's words drew the attention of Shrek's team back to the competition, while the audience immediately tensed up again. That's right, there were still 2 matches left. Furthermore, their opponents still had 2 Soul Kings on their team, one of whom was their most powerful member and team leader. Everyone, including Wang Yang, turned to look at Bei Bei. Shrek's first lineup had already proven Bei Bei's worth in their eyes. Bei Bei already seemed to have a plan in mind as he whispered, "Since we won the first match, we've gained the initiative. What we're hoping for the most is that they'll impulsively send out both of their Soul Kings, or that they at least send their team leader out. Kaitu, Xiao Xiao, you 2 are up first. You don't need to feel any pressure, just do your best to keep yourselves safe. I had originally planned for Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao to go out, but since Wang Dong and Hui Yuhao have a fusion skill, it will be key in the round that we'll win." He Kaitu's eyes met Xiao Xiao's, and they both immediately understood what Bei Bei's intentions were. He was clearly saying that he already planned to give up on their second round. The only reason they were being sent out was in order to waste their opponent's Soul Kings. Bei Bei's plan was undoubtedly spot on. The more people Shrek sent out alongside Hui Yuhao and his spiritual detection, the greater their chances of winning would become. Despite this, the fighting intent in He Kaitu and Xiao Xiao's hearts was no less than that of their companions. The instant that their gazes met, they were both able to see the intense unwillingness in each other's eyes. Bei Bei grabbed He Kaitu's shoulder, then placed his hand on Xiao Xiao's. He solemnly said, "I know that you 2 feel unresigned, but there always have to be a few people who do certain things for the sake of victory. You guys have to remember that this isn't the last round of this tournament. Sanxia can't join us for the next match anymore. So you guys had best come back healthy no matter what. We still need you for the matches after this." "Understood." He Kaitu's expression was somewhat grave as he looked Bei Bei in the eye, but he still nodded. Xiao Xiao's response was somewhat half-hearted, but she managed to resist the urge to refute him. "Good luck you 2. Shrek's glory belongs to all of us together." He Kaitu and Xiao Xiao proceeded to walk onto the stage together. The instant that they'd left, Bei Bei turned around to face Hui Yuhao and Wang Dong, then solemnly said, "The final victors of today's match will be decided in the 3rd round. I only have one thing to say, use every last bit of strength you have. No matter who wins, in the end, we'll have at least displayed our strength. Sanxi's victory in the first round was extremely dangerous. If Nan Nan didn't have a teleportation skill, that Soul King with the angelic martial would have instantly been able to turn the tables once she woke up. As such, we don't have any more chances. Our opponents will definitely be more careful from here on out. There's no way for us to win by a fluke now that they're fighting with all of their strength. Alright, you 2 need to rest up, prepare yourself for our next match." Hui Yuhao was now inwardly afraid. The excitement he'd previously felt had been replaced by a heavy sense of pressure. Bei Bei gradually furrowed his brows as he stared at the tournament stage. His face grew increasingly grave, for he'd just discovered that their opponents would be tougher than he'd imagined. The leader of Just Sky Academy hadn't appeared during the second round. It had to be known that Just Sky Academy would lose the match if they were to lose their second round. In a situation like this, Yi Wuqing had actually managed to remain patient, which definitely exceeded Bei Bei's predictions. This meant that Shrek Academy would have an even harder time in the 3rd round if they lost the second round. He Kaitu and Xiao Xiao slowly made their way up onto the stage. The straightforward Kaitu immediately did the same thing that Shu Sanxia had done, and loudly said to the 2 members of Just Sky Academy in front of him, "Shrek Academy, He Kaitu." Xiao Xiao immediately followed up, "Xiao Xiao." The 2 students from Just Sky Academy had peculiar expressions when they saw He Kaitu. His dark skin was normally only seen in the Sun Moon Empire. However, a person like him had appeared on Shrek's team. Despite this, He Kaitu's suppression of the Soul King ranked Shen Si with a Soul Tool fort was still fresh in everyone's minds. Just Sky Academy, Tang Xiaolei. Just Sky Academy, Shui Lang. The 2 students immediately replied with their own names. Tang Xiaolei had a tall and straight figure, but he wasn't too muscular. However, his eyes were extraordinarily lively, and a purple light seemed to flicker through them. This was the first contestant that Hikaitu had seen besides Hu Yuhao who possessed such a solid pair of eyes. Xuelang was slightly shorter than Tang Xiaolei, but he was much sturdier. The width of his shoulders and the thickness of his arms were comparable to Hikaitu's. Of course, this was a comparison between the 20-year-old Tang Xiaolei and the 15-year-old Hikaitu. Tang Xiaolei and Xuelang were only slightly flabbergasted when they looked at Hikaitu, but they weren't simply astonished when their gazes landed on Xiao Xiao. They'd both seen Xiao Xiao's previous matches while they were in the rest area. However, she hadn't done much during either of the two occasions that she'd appeared. Thus, nobody knew what her true abilities were. Xiao Xiao wasn't even 12 yet. She was only a few days older than Hu Yuhao. Combined with how small she was, she looked like a small child. A few people would have believed that she wasn't even 10 yet. The juxtaposition between the two was simply too strong. Even though Tang Xiaolei and Xu Leng were anxious to obtain victory in this match, they couldn't help but feel that something was off when they saw Xiao Xiao. Their eyes then simultaneously landed on Hikaitu's body. As for the 6 soul rings that Xiao Xiao had previously revealed, the two only felt disdain in their hearts. If a small girl like her was truly a soul emperor, then they could just go directly commit suicide. The two of them had forgotten a single thing, however. Despite Xiao Xiao's extremely baffling appearance, and no matter how old she looked, she was still a student from Shrek Academy. She was still somebody that Shrek had chosen to send to this tournament. The referee felt somewhat unwilling when he saw Xiao Xiao, but the competition was still a competition. He motioned both parties to their respective sides of the arena, then raised his right hand and shouted, "Match, start." Both parties instantly released their martial souls, and Xiao Xiao's 2 yellow 100-year soul rings finally appeared on the tournament stage, spectated by over 10,000 people. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.